People who are neurodivergent have literally a different structure in their brain. This naturally leads to autistic people, perceiving the world in a completely different way, the way they see the world. I mean, there was an interesting study done, albeit on, a small number of participants, and they could also track their eye movements as well. And they would show hotspots where, a neurotypical person would, focus their attention on the face of a person. But the autistic person would focus just on the middle of the image, not on the actual face. And they showed this, repeated the same pattern on different images. So we see actually, in terms of their sensory perception and stimuli, they've got a completely neurologically altered way.
Studies show INFJs are one of the most overrepresented types among adults diagnosed with autism. If you've ever wondered whether you're misunderstood or mislabeled, this could change everything. The truth is, there's a lot of overlap in traits, but they're not the same. And today, we're going to break down exactly where INFJ personality ends, where autism begins, and why confusing the two can either hold you back or empower you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll not only understand the difference, you'll see yourself more clearly than ever before. That's the beauty of self-discovery. Learning that who you are has always been there, just waiting to be understood. For me, realizing I was INFJ connected the dots. The empathy, the intuition, the way I see patterns others miss, and the constant pull toward meaning. Today's video is one of the most requested topics I've ever seen, the connection and confusion between INFJs and autism. And we're not just going to skim the surface. We'll talk about the psychology, the neuroscience, the myths, and even real-world examples of famous INFJs and autistic individuals. Section 1. What is an INFJ? They're introverted, intuitive, deeply empathetic, and guided by strong values. They prefer meaningful connections over small talk, and they often feel different from the world around them. Famous INFJs include Oprah Winfrey, Martin Luther King Jr., and Taylor Swift. All people who turn their empathy and vision into cultural impact. Section 2. What is autism and neurodiversity? Now, autism, also known as autism spectrum disorder or ASD, is not a personality type. It's a neurodevelopmental condition that affects how people communicate, process information, and experience the world. About 1 in 31 children in the US are diagnosed with autism, and it occurs across all backgrounds. Autism is part of a broader idea called neurodiversity, which says that brain differences like autism, ADHD, or dyslexia aren't deficits. They're simply variations of human wiring. Temple Grandin, Greta Thunberg, and Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon, are just a few examples of autistic individuals who changed the world with their unique perspectives. Next, we'll get into the overlap that most people mistake for autism, but is pure INFJ wiring. Section 3, where INFJ and autism overlap. Here's where it gets interesting. INFJs and autistic individuals often share traits that make people wonder if they're connected. For example, both can feel drained by crowds and prefer one-on-one connections. Both can be hyper-aware of details that others overlook. Both may feel misunderstood in a world that values extroversion and surface-level conversation. In fact, studies show INFJs and INTJs are among the most overrepresented personality types in adults diagnosed with autism. That doesn't mean one causes the other, but it shows that the overlap is real. But here's the catch. Just because you're INFJ doesn't mean you're autistic, and just because you're autistic doesn't mean you're INFJ. Let's break down the key differences. Section 4, the key differences. INFJ is about preference, how you prefer to think, feel, and interact. Autism is about neurological wiring. An INFJ may be sensitive to emotions because of their personality. An autistic individual may process social cues differently because of brain development. INFJs tend to prioritize harmony and empathy, while autistic individuals might approach social interactions with more logic or directness. The biggest difference? INFJ is descriptive, autism is diagnostic. You don't get tested for INFJ the way you do for autism. One of the biggest myths is that being introverted or socially drained makes you autistic. That's not true. Another myth is that autistic individuals lack empathy. Also false. Many autistic people feel empathy intensely. They just express it differently. And perhaps the most harmful misconception, that you have to pick a label.
Make sure you keep clear in your mind that those girls or women who may have autism, who know how to make eye contact and who have empathy, should not be taken off the assessment criteria in terms of identification. It is very clear that for many autistic people, we know how long to hold eye contact, so you may not recognize it, especially if you were socialized in traditional environments where girls and women are taught to be more social. That is going to be something that you experience as distress, maybe your efforts to maintain eye contact, but it might not present that way. And the same thing goes for empathy. We know that autistic people might express empathy differently, hence the double empathy problem theory. But the bottom line is, just because someone who presents as less empathic, that you would say, oh, that's not autism.
If this is connecting, subscribe. The next section breaks down myths that confuse people for years. In reality, you can be INFJ, autistic, both, or neither. The key is self-awareness. And here's the most important takeaway. Mislabeling yourself can hold you back, but the right kind of self-understanding can change everything. So what does this mean for you? If you're INFJ, embrace your empathy and vision. Like Oprah, who built her empire on connection. If you're autistic, embrace your focus and unique perspective. Like Temple Grandin, who revolutionized animal science. If you're both, you may have a supercharged combination of deep values and unconventional thinking. But remember, you are not your label. You are a human being with a unique mind.
This world needs you, the real you. And it could stand to learn from the ways you operate and interact within it every single day.
At the end of the day, INFJs and autistic individuals both remind us of one thing. The world needs different minds. Diversity in how we think, feel, and create is what moves humanity forward. Now I want to hear from you. INFJs, have you ever felt mislabeled? Or autistic viewers, have you ever been mistaken for just introverted? Share below. Your story might help someone else. Watch next in the INFJ Drop series, 10 things you should never say to an INFJ and the weird traits of INFJ personalities. It connects directly to this overlap. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. And if you're hungry for more, check the pinned comment for timestamps so you can rewatch the parts that spoke to you most. Thanks for watching. And remember, being different is not a weakness. It's your superpower.